This video lecture is on wikis. Some people pronounce the word wiki while others use wiki. You may hear me pronounce it either way. The first wiki was created by Ward Cunningham in 1995. Cunningham, a software engineer, wanted to create a shared repository of design wisdom, but noticed that all the collaboration tools available involved a long, convoluted process where only certain people could write, others proofread, and then only editors could publish. These multiple steps not only took a long time, but also created a frustrating process for all involved that could stall a project at any one of the steps. Cunningham decided that if collaborators trusted each other, then they didn't need formal management, and he created the first wiki as a user-editable website. The resulting wiki was called the Portland Pattern Repository. Once you go into the wiki, you can read articles or edit them by clicking on the Edit button on every page. Now let's go back in time and think about another radical change, the printing press. As you know, prior to movable type, the creation of a book was a laborious process done by scribes one book at a time. Being able to set the type and then printing multiple pages was a revolutionary process that changed the world. A wiki is the same kind of change. It takes the production of material out of a formal process, with the result being freer collaboration. Here's a real-life example of how a wiki can change and improve a process. I'm part of the Canadian Independent School Libraries group, and there was a directory with basic information on each school in MS Word format. It's useful to see what databases, library programs, and so on that other schools have. When there were changes, and there were changes several times a year because people leave, new products are purchased, while others are deleted. So what would happen is a person at the school would email the president of the library group the changes. The president would go into the Word doc, alter it, save it, and then email it out to everyone once a year. This was a lot of work for the president, and the directory was always out of date. And here's the wiki version of the directory. I can click on any one of the schools, and the same information that was in the Word version is here. But best of all, anyone can click on the Edit button and go in and update the page. This results in many people editing instead of one, and of course many hands make light work. The president isn't doing all the work, and the directory is constantly being updated. And more information like meeting minutes and those sorts of things are posted. And this particular wiki is also password protected, so that only members of the group can see it, but other wikis are sometimes public as well. So here you can see I've edited the page, and when I click back on Home, you can see down there there's some other information. There's minutes, things like that. The most famous wiki, and probably the one you think of when you think of it, is Wikipedia. And here we have the library page. And no surprise, there's a table of contents, images, and it's very long. Really long. It goes on and on. And then down at the bottom, of course, there's references. Now, every page also has an Edit This Page. Let's see what happens when we click on it. It opens up the editor, and you can see on the top there's all the buttons, the bold, italics, that's all fairly straightforward. And you can click on anything and alter it. So in that instance, I made something bold. I'm not going to save this, of course. And there's also a section where you can leave comments. So in this one, it says how long the page is. There's also a sandbox, so if you wanted to go in and experiment, you could certainly go in and try it out just to see what it was like to alter Wikipedia. Now, every page also has a history. Now this is how you get around that, if everyone can edit it, what if they delete it? Well, the history goes through and you can always see and revert back. Now if you go back to some of the earliest pages, you can see that the first entry for library, well, first off, it wasn't very long. There's just kind of a list of libraries, and it really should be more than that. And you can go through and click on various ones and see how over time it changed. You can also see that it shows who it is that did the editing. And that box where it said how long it was, that's the little part where sometimes people type in what they changed. So you can see it's that, so you could change and say added this, added that, reverted back to this or that. Now going down to the bottom a little further, you can see that there are some things where people have put that in. Now there's another section called Discussion. When you click on the Discussion tab, that's where people can write out what they think of this. So you can see cybrary is one of those kind of disputed sort of terms. And certainly different pages that, people have various opinions of, sometimes this is where all the arguments happen. Now sometimes on a Wikipedia page, you'll see this lock. Now what that's about is that sometimes there's vandalism in Wikipedia. And so to protect that, they lock certain pages. So because Stephen Colbert has done some controversial things with Wikipedia, such as the elephant and changing how many there are and that, then his page was vandalized, so they've had to lock it. So here we are at Summer 2008 Electronic Publishing, our wiki. The website is epsummer2008wetpaint.com, and Wetpaint is the site that's allowing us to create our wiki. Earlier we looked at that directory, that's using PBWiki, and there's hundreds of different products that allow you to create a wiki for free or for cost. As I cruise over to the right, you can see that I'm not currently signed in. So even though I'm not signed in, I can still click on the Easy Edit button. It comes up and it allows me to type whatever I want. I can alter it using the toolbar here. And you can certainly investigate this anytime you want. I click on Save. And I'm going to skip the edit note. And for me, I'm just going to say no thanks. And you can see it's altered it. Now over on the side, I can click on Complete History, and it will show me all the changes to this. You can see just now I was anonymous, but at one point I was logged in and it puts my name right there. There's also a little button that I could see in a group thing where you could have the to-dos. So if you didn't have enough time to make the actual entries, you could say, well, why don't we discuss this or why don't we discuss that? The other thing that's interesting about this is you'll notice that the additions are in blue and it has the key up at the front, and if I'd made any deletions, they'd be red and crossed through. And we can click on any of the versions and we can see what it used to look like before I put blah 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 in it. And of course, hopefully at some point, someone will change that for us. Another cool thing on the home page is the recent site activity. We can cruise down, and again, we can see the same things that we saw before because this is the only page in the wiki right now and the only one that's had any, alterations. Of course, if there were multiple pages, this would be really handy to see what people were working on at this point in time. Now we don't want our wiki to be only one page. So over on the left, we can click on Add Page. Now remember, you can do any topics. Certainly library related would be interesting, but here I am, summer reading. So maybe we want to put tags like reading, books, and we'll just use a blank page. I'm going to add the page. So now there's nothing on the page still. So I'll go to Easy Edit. And the book I would like to read this summer is Super Crunchers. And what's really also interesting is you can put a little photo in. So I can upload a new photo. I can browse on my hard drive. And I'm just going over, I have one called Super Crunchers already. And I can add that photo. I'm just going to call it Super. Ooh, interesting. We can do rollover text. And if I wanted to, I could add a link. So I can just key in, there's a website for the book, and I can just click on add a link. When I'm done, I click on save. And again, I'm going to skip doing the edit note. And there it is. Now, I don't think this is particularly pretty, but for now I'm going to leave this. And again, at some point someone will decide on a different format and alter it then. Now remember, for the assignment, you have to go into the wiki and alter it. Now, I'm not making any content judgments, so you can do anything you want. Now, there are certain subjects I think are kind of no-brainers, so you could certainly do a job page, or I created the summer reading and you could add to that. Just go in and make some alterations and have fun and play with it.